Hey,
So,
how's it going?
how's it going? We good?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. What's up?
So you're driving, man.
Just headed back to the house. Where are you exactly?
I am
Switzerland?
in Geneva, Switzerland.
Oh, I love that place.
Yeah, man, you should come around. No problem.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, yeah, I have a couple of friends. I haven't been in some years though.
You visited here?
Yeah, I came with Phife 2010 maybe.
Oh,
And no, wait. We did the open air festival there a few years ago.
the Frauenfeld. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
So
So
you
that was 2012 or 13. I can't remember.
so you crossed the whole of Switzerland, and
Pretty much.
yeah,
Exactly.
that's cool,
So
man.
what's going on?
I'm so happy, man. It's the pilot of FaceTime therapy, and I have someone that it was really behind the whole movement, has been really close to the whole movement. DJ Rasta Root. It's an honor
How's it going?
to host you, man, on this
Thank you.
first
Thanks for
pilot
having me.
FaceTime
Yes.
FaceTime therapy. So, um,
It's an honor to be the first guest on this show. So thank you very much for inviting me and having me on.
thank you, man. Thank you. So listen, the first thing I want to ask you, because people don't necessarily know you very much in
Hmm.
Europe. I mean, some of the insiders know that you've been the eight sort of the manager of Five Dog,
Yes,
like Five
yes.
Dog. Rest in peace. His soul
Rest in
may
peace,
be
for sure.
blessed.
For sure.
And You've been the manager of Five Dog. You've been also his DJ, and that you have
Yes,
a background as a DJ. So some of the insiders know that, but others don't. So can you tell us a
sure.
little bit about where you come from, your love for music? How did you get into music?
Sure. So it's interesting. Growing up as a kid, my dad worked for an oil company called Schlumberger. So
Oh
every
wow!
couple years, we would move to different countries. My parents from Trinidad. I'm born in Canada, but I've lived in 9 different countries, throughout the course of
Oh
my
wow!
life. So places like Holland, England, Brazil, Guatemala, Canada, Abu Dhabi, um, Spain. I've lived in all these places, and that's where I kind of get my background of kind of multicultural.
Yep.
But throughout that journey, I've always had because we were always like typically the only black kids at the school. My
Mm-hmm.
sister and myself. You learned about those those cultures, but you wondered what your own culture was and what was your own culture. So it was a hard thing. So we visit the states every summer, and my cousins would give me cassettes with like hip hop mixes and Dougie Fresh and the Get Fresh crew and all these crews. So that was how I learned about music and hip hop. Was every couple months he would send me something, or I'd get a whiff of something and then go with it. So my love for music and hip hop music in particular came from lack of it. There was a lack of it in my life, so I yearned for it more.
Got it.
I gravitated towards it a lot more. When I lived in Brazil, and I particularly remember a friend in school was saying, you like that rap stuff? It's not gonna last. It's gonna be gone next year. And he had me thinking like, wow, he might be right. But like, fast forward 30 something years, it's still around. You know what I mean? So
And
I
it's
kind of chuckled at that.
and it's more than around because
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
like those guys have become legends, and the
Exactly.
culture is being celebrated to such an extent right now. It's
For sure.
amazing.
For
So
sure. For sure.
so before we had a casual chat, you told me that your background was somehow more in business, and that's
Yes.
really interesting because you've got this sort of multi talent that you've developed, those skills in terms of DJ, and you've got the
Yes.
business side of things. So when did it tilt for you, when you were school, growing up, going through those countries, enjoying and yearning for hip hop, and then one day, like this DJ thing started taking over slowly, but surely.
Yeah. So yeah, for sure. So I went to a small college in Pennsylvania called Gettysburg College. It's actually the town where the Gettysburg Address was signed with Abraham Lincoln. And So I went to school there. It was very few black kids again. It was maybe 50 black kids or kids of African American descent in a school of 2,200. So again, found myself in a place where it wasn't close. It was close to D.C., close to Philly, but wasn't any of those places. So
That's
the
dope.
campus ended up having as a freshman in school, you're impressionable. You want to figure out how am I going to fit into this scenario now, and where do I fit in, and where are my hobbies going to lie. And a couple of my roommates at the time were DJs.
Mm-hmm.
DJs coming into college. They had some experience DJing. So I actually on campus there was a on-campus non-alcoholic club called the Dive. And at the dive, they had 1200s, a 19-inch rack mixer, and so I kind of started hanging out with them, and I would start learning to DJ and buying records every couple of days, and then I found out that you could actually get into the facility when it was closed by kind of popping the door, just kind of jerk it. So I would just go after class and just play music, and I would take like the acapella of Let the Rhythm Hit Him and put it over the instrumental of Do Me by Belle Biv DeVoe and vice versa. And I did that over and over for months until I got it right. And then after that, then I started picking other records and learning about beats per minute and mixing and mixing techniques. And after there, I haven't looked back since. And that was 1989.
So you started rocking. So you started rocking the clubs when?
I mean, probably I'd say a year after that is when I said, you know what, I think I'm ready. I have enough records. I think I'm ready to try and make people dance, So, of course, I had my stumbles and my fails, but I think that was a part of being, of persevering, was knowing that with practice you're going to get better. And I just kept practicing. I got better. I surpassed my friends. They got other interests, but I kept on doing it.
And as a DJ, your thing was more the music or the cuts or the mashups, as you said before. I mean, what?
For me, as a DJ, my style, I've always been into really quick identification of the difference in BPMs and being able to match them.
Yeah.
Very quick, like within seconds, dropping a record, and while it's mixing and I'm twisting the pitch and getting it lined up super quick. I got really good at that, and then I would say my forte is mixing songs together.
And has hip hop, because I got the chills before when I was preparing for our discussion, because I read some of your previous interviews, and I was like, there are two things that said like me and Roots are gonna kick it, because the first thing you said about what you like is you mentioned Sade, and then
I love Sade.
And then the second thing, and Sade is sort of my queen,
right.
and so the second and then the second thing is you said, like, somebody asked you, what are you listening to lately? And I said, oh, yesterday I didn't listen really to too much. And so yesterday myself, I was listening to De La Soul Trying all night. And I even called a friend. I was like, man, this loop, it's incredible. The fifth dimension. And so I read in this interview, you said, oh, now I remember. I was listening to De La Soul Trying, and that was one day later, and I was like, oh man, that's crazy coincidence.
That's crazy. It's funny you said it, because I love Trying a lot. I love the one they just did with Estelle,
yes.
Memory Of.
It
gives you the same feeling. It gives you the exact same feeling, where it's deep, sentimental, but it's pure, unadulterated hip-hop. And within their lyrics and the music, you can find your own space, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like something that you can pull out of it, and that's what I love about Trying. People, I can listen, like, just vibe out on it over and over, definitely.
Beautiful. And so the question I wanted to ask you is, you seem to be someone that loves music not just for the beats, not just for the cuts, but you said the word sentimental. I have a lot of friends, DJs, that are going to watch this. What's your assessment right now on the state of being a DJ, on the state of music, on the state of hip hop, and on the state of art?
Sure.
Could you give us a little bit your thoughts on this?
Yeah. I think my conviction lies in, I'm very, like, DJing is something really pure to me. Like, taking two completely different songs and putting them together in some creative way is a very pure art form to me, and it's been somewhat diluted over the years with the advent of the access of technology to DJs, or so-called DJs. But for the DJs that have spent years collecting records, getting calluses on their hands, and trying to figure shit out, like, it means something completely different. Like, I have a part of me that's very, like, non-judgmental to the public, where I accept music and stuff like that. But then there's a side of me inside that's super, like, conservative, because I want to preserve the artifact of DJing. You know what I mean? So there's things I won't compromise. There's things within my DJ style that I won't change, because I feel like it's an embedded genetic part of the makeup of DJing. You know what I mean? And if I can't preserve it and pass it on to somebody, then I'm doing a disservice to DJing.
So you
That's
still
how I look
mix
at it.
with your vinyls, or you use Serato?
I use Serato, but I use Serato. Um, I use Serato with relative mode typically, so I can do stuff with the cue points. But the foundation of it, I still have. I don't look at the screen. I don't sync the buttons. I'm actually mixing, and that's why we did a collaboration with Serato where we had a nutshell single and two other songs. One side was the control tone for Serato. The other side has three actual vinyl songs on it. So to me that was important because it shows the intersection between technology and the foundation of that technology, which is actual, grooves in the record and tones. So I wanted people to know that yes, I'm the DJ that's DJ for 20 something years on vinyl, but I'm also someone who's now learning to master this new technology and generate balance out of it.
And so
You,
you
you
still,
can get lost. You can get lost in the technology.
yeah. And so what about the state of just hip hop in general and music, and this debate about boom bap versus mumble rap versus trap versus the 808 sound?
Yeah, yeah. I think I think the debate would be less important to people if there was a better naming structure for the genres and the subgenres within rap music. So if it's mumble rap, it should be labeled, this is mumble rap. This is the mumble rap section of iTunes. You know what I
Yes.
mean? If it's, I love boom bap for the era, but I don't want to be just living in that. I think that was a time, and it's a snapshot in time, and it's a lovely snapshot, but I wouldn't want to work with an artist that just wants to make something that sounds like that.
All
Make
right.
what you feel. If you like it and it feels good to you, then make it. You know what I mean? I don't
All right.
think we should be kind of like put into a box where we can't reach outside of that. But I think if the naming devices for the subgenres, where it's like, you have rock, classic rock, metal, all these different subgenres. For us,
AOR.
we just really have
Yes.
rap. So anything that falls in the umbrella can confuse people because those people that know it is something else are going to scratch their heads when they're listening to, like, no disrespect to any of these people, but the mumble rappers, it's not going to make sense.
Yeah.
But if you had a specific name for it and it fell under that in the tag of your iTunes, it said this genre is raps under mumble rap, and then I think it would end the discussion because if you don't like it, you just don't listen to it.
So you're still enjoying the state of the music world. You're still enjoying being part of that industry. You're still enjoying DJing. You're getting the
Yeah,
kick out of it.
definitely. Yeah, I've always kept it as pure. Yes, I've made money off of music and DJing, but in my heart, it's a pure thing where, truth be told, any of the gigs I've ever done, I would have done it for free because the integrity of what I do is there, and it just happens to be a byproduct. The byproduct is getting paid to do it, but in my heart, I know if they twisted my arm, I would probably do it for free because I love it. You know what I mean?
Cool, man.
But I'm an adult now with bills and, adult things to do, so it doesn't make sense to just go around doing stuff for free. But there are events I'll just do because I feel good about it and I just want to do it.
That's beautiful. So I think now
Yeah.
we've covered your, let's say, 1975 to
Sure.
1999. So
Right.
you're a producer as well. You make beats. So when did you shift from DJing to starting to producing?
Well, I lived in Japan for 3 years teaching English, and while I was living there, Akai released the MPC 2000, and it was
Okay.
the big, you have to get it machine if you want to produce, and it was all inclusive. So I saved my money and ended up getting one, and then I started kind of just working on simple loops and trying to emulate what I thought DJs and producers in the States were doing. Because again, now I'm in another bubble called Japan.
Mhm.
Now I'm in a parallel universe in a whole other country, having to guess what's going on at home and not knowing. And then once you do guess, you're probably 2 months behind because there's no internet back then. There was no go online and look for something. Everything was like your mail order came physically, you filled it out, you faxed it in. It wasn't like now you can jump on the net and find something out. So I had to play a guessing game in Japan of what was going on and who I was going to be as a DJ artist. So my natural progression from DJing blended in with production because I knew it was from what I had read in the Source magazine, it was a natural progression ear, you go on to produce.
And I've read as well that that's one thing that I really liked about the interviews that I've read from you is you were asked the classic question, who's your mentor, and you're like, and that's, I mean, the thing is, I connected a lot with you even before meeting you, Roots, because you said, I mean, because that's the kind of answer that inspires me a lot. It's like I don't have one mentor. I got inspired by many sources.
Sure.
So when you were creating beats, your inspirations came from everywhere, right?
It did, and it leaned towards, like, I like the sound that Premier had, so I try to emulate his drum patterns and emulate his scratches at times too, but not get caught up just emulating or mimicking, because then I'm not me, I'm him, you know what I mean? So I try to believe you go somewhere and you pull pieces of things that you're attracted to, and then you make something that's your own.
Yeah.
But you don't not say where you got it from, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You have to give credit. I think you have to give credit.
Absolutely.
To, if Premier inspired me, if Pete Rock did, whoever did at the time, it becomes a part of your story. It's only right, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm gonna hold that thought for later because I'm sort of going chronologically here, but
Sure.
I want the audience to know that in front of us we have the person that made the beats for Nutshell, made the beats for Dear Dilla, for hip hop royalty, Mr. Phife Dawg.
For sure.
And that for me.
Actually, the Nutshell beat was done by Jay Dilla.
Okay.
I did Dear Dilla, but Nutshell was Jay Dilla. I did the scratches on Nutshell.
Got it.
So
I'm
Thank you for the correction. I'm totally heavily involved in all that. Yes.
Thank you for the correction. But
Of course.
I'm gonna hold that thought. But just want the audience to know that we're really talking to someone that has clear importance for our culture.
No doubt. Thank you, man.
Transitioning to so you started making beats. You're not a manager yet, so you're not a manager in the industry yet, and I think
just managing my own endeavor.
your own business as a DJ, and
sure.
so you meet. And I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. You meet Phife Dawg. So can you tell us how you met Phife?
Yeah.
Which state he was in at that time, and where and how, a little bit.
Yep, for sure. So as a DJ, when I moved to Atlanta from Japan in '97, also trying to figure out where I fit in again, because now we're dealing with Master P and Cash Money's coming around. So music is changing fast. You know what I mean? It's changing, and now you drop me in the middle of where most of the change is happening, where the South is making noise now. But my ear and my mind is East Coast, mid '90s boom bap. So I'm like, shit, what am I gonna do? So networking and meeting DJs, I decided to kind of try and make a name for myself in Atlanta by doing mixes, using the same template of how I mix songs, and not trying to emulate or fit in here, but just let people know, look, this is who I am and this is what I stand for, and let's see who gravitates towards it. So I was kind of making my rounds in the city, and just making a little noise here. And one day I was working, because I'm also an interpreter, so I was working for a company translating Spanish and Portuguese.
Oh wow!
But it wasn't a passion; it was a job.
How many languages you speak, man?
I speak English, fluent in English, Portuguese, and Japanese, and Spanish, and conversational in Japanese.
Porra, você fala português também?
Eu falo português. Morei no Brasil 3 anos. Você é brasileiro?
Porra, eu não. Tenho muitos amigos no Brasil, mano.
Morei no Rio 3 anos.
Yo, man, this is crazy. This is crazy. Conversational Japanese as well.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, because I lived there for 3 years teaching English. So yeah, I picked that up. Yeah, so in Atlanta, I heard, Tribe breaks up. I know Phife moved to Atlanta, and I heard he was working on a solo project, and I heard he had a DJ, and I also heard that he wasn't getting along with the DJ, and they were gonna not be together, working together. So in my mind, being the business mind I am, I'm like, if I meet this person, Phife from Tribe, I'm going to leave an impression that hopefully opens him up to want to work with me. That's what I said to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Just casually, I said that to myself. And then I get a call one day at work, and my friend's like, hey, one of our beats, but we need some scratches that he wants. Can you come in and do them? So I was like, hell yeah, I'm coming in. So I had my little business card ready. In my mind, I mentally prepared myself to like just be smart and strategic, which that's how I am. And so I met him. I knew he's obviously from Trinidad, so I knew we had a connection because my parents were from Trinidad too.
Yeah.
So the accent, joking with the accent and talking about childhood occurrences growing up in a Trini household, what that was like, we kind of hit it off just for that moment. So I did the scratches, I left, and then 6 months later, that same friend calls me back and he says, hey, Phife hit us up and asked about you. He's doing a solo show in the University of Maryland, and he needs a DJ, and he's wondering if you're available or want to do it. I'm like, hell yeah, of course, right? So he connects with the numbers. I talk to him. I'm hearing. I remember the first time I heard his voice. It was the raspy, like, yo.
Yeah,
it was, it was very Phife. And my, I'm serious on the phone, but I'm smiling ear to ear, like, this is crazy, because more than anything, I was a fan, a huge fan of Tribe. You know, like, between them and Redman and artists like that, they kind of like, they painted like the background of my life, you know. So super honored and humbled and gracious that he was so gracious to even want to, like, you know, work with me, or he remembered me, in fact. So we decided to get together. So he gave me his address, bring my equipment, and we'll work on the show. So I drive to his house, nervous as hell. It's like going to a prom date. If I pick up your prom date, it's the exact same butterfly.
Well, you know exactly how you're feeling, man, because I was feeling like that prior to calling you, right?
No way, come on.
No, but really, man, because I'm a big fan.
Awesome.
I'm a big fan of Tribe. I was absolutely amazed when you replied to me, and you know, you've been, again, hold that thought, but you've been in the midst of the last album of Tribe. So we're gonna get to that later. But the thing is, I had those butterflies in my stomach too.
That's crazy, man.
So I know exactly how you feel.
You know exactly how, it's the exact same feeling. So I have my turntables, you know, my mixer, cables, records, and then he opens the door and he's really very quiet. He's super quiet. I go in the house and I walk and I see like the De La Soul 3 Feet High and Rising plaque that has a spinning disc on it. I'm seeing Marauders. I'm seeing Beats Rhymes. I'm seeing Boomerang. I'm seeing Low End and ASCAP Awards, and I'm like,
the museum.
Freeze up, like, I freeze up, like, oh shit, like, I'm in the midst of like history right here. You know what I mean? Super nervous, like, if I set up, and he's so laid back. He's just a laid back dude. So none of that mattered. It didn't matter. He's just a dude. I went to his house. We rehearsed a couple times. Did the show. It was sketchy because it was my first time performing for someone, timing and stuff. It was a little off, I think. But we had connected. So I started, every time he'd have a solo show, they'd call me, and then we just developed a rapport on stage, and then obviously off stage, and then from there it's just like we never looked back. You know, we never looked back.
So during that period, say 2002 to 2006-7, him and Tip probably didn't connect at all, right? They reconnected at the time where they had
for the first few years of me working with him, there wasn't much talk of him, and there was very, if any, that I remember, any communication between them. I feel like on both sides, people around them supported negative thoughts to keep them away from each other. I don't know why. That's my thought is. Maybe for selfish reasons. Maybe I understand the psyche of that, but I always believe in like things being right and ending things right. So I never allowed him to like go super crazy like in negative thoughts, because it eats you up alive. And I try to keep him positive and look, we're working on your solo stuff. Let's focus on that. Nothing else matters. When it comes, it comes. If not, it's cool. But you know, early on, we didn't speak much about the group at all because it was still very new. You know, the Scars were new.
And as you
said, I came in the middle of, they had already recorded Ventilation album with Flaws and Let Me Find Out, and so it was already in that motion of like, I'm gonna make a diss record, pretty much. You know what I mean? And so it was too late for me to do anything at that point.
All right.
And I was still new in the equation. I didn't have much say, you know.
Absolutely. So from 2002 to 2006, he was still doing shows. He was touring mainly in the
Oh
U.S.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we never stopped doing shows. Honestly, like when I started doing shows with him in '98, '99, we'd always had a solo career. You know what I mean? We never relied on Tribe. You know, I did Europe with him, I Switzerland with him, and Marlboro tours throughout the whole time I've known him. Like, you know. And then when they got back together, started talking and figuring things out, we still did. You know, we still did his solo stuff. Like,
And
that never stopped. Yeah.
and his health during that whole period was okay, ups and downs.
I mean, dealing with a diabetic person was new to me, so I don't know whether it was good or bad or the extent of where he fell in the spectrum of health. You know, I do know that it was a significant part of planning, you know, planning shows and travel and things like that. It wasn't easy, you know.
All right, so I think now I want to slowly get into almost like the failed reunion. I don't know if you were part of that, or you were around that during that time. The one that was portrayed in the movie, and that was where it was quite obvious that you know, they unfortunately, you know, didn't make it to mend their issues.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I just wanted to hear from you whether they were, you know, what was your perspective at that time, you know,
Well, it's
when
funny,
when Tribe remerged and you were the solo guy supporting him, but
Yeah.
how did you feel
Well,
at
it's
that
funny.
point in time?
So when they actually had the fight that was in the movie, Phife and I stopped working together for about 9, 10 months.
Got it.
Less than a year, but we stopped working together. So once the element of balance was removed, because it's almost like with him, he's very passionate and real and straightforward. It's like that dog that's energetic and you have to have him on a leash. He's not a bad dog.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's just high-tempered and very, like, aggressive, but not a bad dog. Once that leash was taken off and I was out of the equation, it allowed him to be that dog where no one was going to tell him, Phife, you shouldn't say that.
Mm-hmm.
Phife, don't let that get to you. Phife, don't. You think about this. No one was saying that to him.
Mm-hmm.
I told him before that tour, I said, hey, man, because I felt the energy changing. I felt like it was building. I didn't know the details of what was happening because I wasn't around, but I knew it was a lot of back and forth and I don't like you, don't like me, and all this kind of crazy stuff that, you know, you people know about. I told him before they left on tour, I said, Phife, if you ever get to the point of feeling like you're going to try and fight him or he's going to fight you, pick up the phone and call me.
Yeah.
And he didn't. He didn't call me. Why? Because now there's a couple people around that were egging him on in a way. It's like, it's Phife from Tribe, so let me not say anything because it's Phife from Tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Where me, I'm like, I don't care who you are, right is right, wrong is wrong.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you you're wrong when you're wrong, or I'm going to tell you this is not the best solution because you're not going to gain anything from it.
So
And then the fight happened. So I wasn't there, and it just escalated and blew up.
yeah. So
But he knows. He told me after. He said, "I know if you were there, that wouldn't have happened because there's no way I would let that happen.
yeah.
There's no way I wouldn't, especially in public. There's no way I would not let that happen. So it's unfortunate, you know."
So you had built so much trust from that period, from 1999 to 2008. You had become already his manager at that point in time. You were managing his career.
I mean, I was his DJ, producer, manager, best friend, all in one. For
That's
sure.
beautiful.
Like twins, you know, like in that sense.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so you had built so much trust that but unfortunately weren't able to intervene then. How did the post reunion happen? Did that kill all hope that Tribe would ever get together?
I think initially and then the movie exasperated it because people got to see it again. It was captured, so it was relived. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when any healing that had happened, because that was 2008, and the movie came out in 11. So if you healed in 3 years and you see it again, it's gonna dig up your wounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's gonna dig up, and then the media's gonna grab onto it, and then you're gonna be caught into this little like, you know. And there was some confusion with the movie too, but I always try to maintain a positive energy in his life because the negative stuff it'll literally kill you. Like
Yeah.
it can kill you. It's toxic, and we have too much stuff to do. Like I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that to waste my life. You know what I mean? So.
And so that was
Yeah.
the period where you were trying to build this new album. He wanted to call it Songs in the Key of Phife.
Yeah, I think that was just a title he had in his head, and I think he was somewhat musically in a conundrum where he didn't know the sound. He didn't know the sound he wanted. He was trying different things, and you can hear it in the music at the time. And people were pulling him in different directions artistically, and he just didn't know. So if you hear the music, it sounds like confusing a little bit. You know, stuff we have that's not out. But if you hear it, you'll be like, that doesn't sound like Phife. You know what I mean? It doesn't sound. I think he was trying to find himself. So that stuff, I kind of never really. I knew it wasn't something that we wanted to present to the world because I don't think it was his best work. You know.
Got it.
But I think he needed to go through it as therapy. You know, to get it out of his system and say what he wanted to say, and then once that's done and we can kind of rise from the ashes, hopefully, you know, lyrically be in a place where he'd be able to be the Phife that people knew and love, but not necessarily the same Phife. The updated, look, I've gone through this much, this is who I am now, you know?
And what was your perspective at the time? Because, you know, he was your best friend, so you weren't going to drop him. But business wise, the other thing I read about you is that you you really keep art and business side by side, and you pull different hats. And so being a man from a business background with a business mindset, you know, what was your perspective? Were you diversifying yourself? Were you still believing in the man? What was your?
I never lost faith in him. I think, you know, he had his journey. I had my journey. I think my journey. Part of my journey was the ability to find my voice, to not be scared to say what I feel in a respectful manner that might hurt someone's feeling because it's the truth, but I'm not doing it to hurt them. So when I say fight, that verse is whack. Instead of me just physically kind of showing that I don't like it, saying you can do better, or learning how to speak a language where he can understand and feel like still encouraged, but not discouraged by what I'm saying. But understand that I care about him, and I would rather tell him this than the world tell him that, you know? And I'm not a yes man, so it's the journey from not being a yes man to totally not being a yes man, you know, like, but not being a dick either, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And were you managing other people at that time, or you just?
At the time with him, no, I committed myself completely to him. I also, I was doing some road managing for Dwelle, who was a good friend of ours too. And so I'd be on the road with them, but my focus with him, I realized like part of my journey in life was to strictly be with him, you know what I mean? Like to care for him, you know, and it's not an easy job. Meaning the bandwidth, you have to dedicate a lot of your bandwidth to a person like that, you know?
Got it. So now can we fast forward, Roots, to thank you for all of that.
Sure.
That was fascinating. Thank you so much.
Sure. No problem.
You know, can we fast forward now to, let's say, the last 2 years that have been extremely emotional and active and intense on all fronts. You know, there was, of course, the pre thank you for your service, and then the post thank you for your service. I'd like to focus a little bit on, you know, really getting closer to building that new last Phife album that is not out yet, but I heard is going to come out. And then this time, you know, the successful reunion, and the reason why it was so important as well for me to connect with you is that there's been so much, probably more than in the U.S. You know, in the U.S. I think that last album got like big praise, Grammys, you know, #1 in the charts. In Europe, you know, like the hip hop heads gave it sort of a controversial reception. You know, some people, some people that, you know, were, you know, intensely into Tribe, like me, you know, I was like, God bless them, whatever they do. And I did enjoy, you know, I heard the mature sound, but I still really, you know, I really enjoyed it. And then some other people were like, you hear too much of Tip's influence into that. It sounds too much like this. He hijacked the project again. I mean, clearly because of, I think, Phife passing, unfortunately, people, really sanctified Phife and really, were very tough on Tip. But so, I'd be interested about a perspective, but I'm also interested about perspective of the last album of Phife that's not out yet. Is it going to come out? So it's a
Sure.
long
Yep.
question, but I hope it sets
Sure.
the context. And then, of
So
course, I'd be really
what's the first
interested
part of
to.
the question?
So maybe let's start with the Phife album, the Phife last album. Is it going to come out?
Okay.
How's it going? How
Yeah,
did,
yeah,
is
yeah.
it has it built up? And then we can talk about Thank You for Your Service with everything I
Yep.
told you before about the mixed reception and how it's
Right.
been
So
perceived from the outside.
yeah. So the album we're working on for Phife, we started working on it a couple of years ago. So around the time that we recorded Nutshell, it was when he was in that mode of let's collect beats, let's find the producer, let's do our own stuff. Well, Dear Dilla was the initial record, but he'd already had songs recorded. So we said, you know what? We don't have to overthink this. We don't have to. We're independent. So whatever we put out and whenever we put out the album is when it's gonna come out. You know what I mean? Like that's just it. We simplified it in our heads as opposed to worrying about labels and who's gonna put it out. We just said let's just make the music, let's pull the best stuff and let's put it out and see what happens. And then we were building songs, and then we were approached by the group about a possible Tribe album. And in the midst of him trying to finish his album, sorry, he was nervous because he did not, no matter what, we promised that we were gonna keep working on his album no matter what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Where there was a Tribe recording an album in space, we were gonna finish his album. Like he was determined. So we stayed focused and steadfast that no matter what we did, it didn't affect his solo stuff, which I think was great. You know what I mean?
Got it.
And that's a lesson I learned is no matter what you have going on, no matter what's going on great in your life, always have like a backup plan. Always have something concurrent running that in case something in this main thing doesn't work out, the backup plan can take off right away and you don't have to like start anything up. It's already going. It may be less of a fast machine, but it's moving nonetheless. So we focused on that. So when they started working on the Tribe album, we were already like very closer to being done than the Tribe album was done. So he was writing. He had found the same voice I said what he hadn't found before in his older material. He found it with Nutshell. And I remember we were in so we did Dear Dilla, and that was a big production for me because I put a lot into it. Like it took me 8 months to complete that beat, like to feel like the beat, because I felt like it was my favorite producer, obviously my best friend and favorite rapper in a sense. I had to
Mm-hmm.
put my all into it.
Yo,
Roots. So
Roots.
nuances in the song and the beat. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, man, but
Yeah.
the connection
Yeah.
is not really good right now, and what you're saying is probably the most important part of.
Okay, so I should be home in like 5 minutes. Can you call me then?
I'll call you in 5 minutes. So let's do finish the part one, and we'll take it where we left it. So thank you so much. I'll talk to you later.
Got you. No problem.
Peace.
Okay, thank you.